I'm a maxillofacial surgeon, so I fix broken faces, broken facial fractures, cleft lip and palate work on children. I did a fellowship in Switzerland in plastics and reconstructive surgery, facial reconstruction.
I'm a general dentist, family dentist. Two of them are medical doctors, and one is a technical writer. England, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, back France, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Austria, Germany, Montenegro, then Albania, Macedonia or Skopje, then Greece, then Turkey to Georgia, Tbilisi, to Armenia, back to Georgia, then to Baku, then back to Georgia, and then Georgia to Batumi, and then back up.
From Ukraine to Romania, and then in Romania, Francis will go north to the Baltic states and Scandinavia, and I will go south to Bulgaria and Greece and Italy. We have a different timeline to be finished. I want to be finished in 1 month, and he's going to take 2 months to finish.
Sure. And more than a vacation. It's not a vacation. Sometimes it's very hard work. But it's not all holiday. It's a trip, an adventure.
It's an adventure.
Kilometers, 20,000.
Yeah, 20,000.
20 to 25,000. So the original plan was to go to Mongolia and Vladivostok. And because it was closed, we either had to drive very fast to get there or change our plans. So we changed the plans, and so now the plan is there is no plan.
We got to the point where it was so close to the wire that we had the possibility of getting on the boat, getting to Turkmenistan. If there was a delay in coming off the boat, then our visa would have been no good, and they wouldn't have let us in. And then by the time we go back to Baku, our visa would be no good, and we'd be stuck in the middle. So we decided, Francis and I decided we would repair his bike, I would wait with him. The other three decided to try and go. And of those three, two of them have made it through, and they're in Uzbekistan. One of them, in a sandstorm in Turkmenistan, his tank bag on the motorcycle came open and his passport went, and so he is stuck in Turkmenistan.
In Ashgabat.
In Ashgabat. He's been there for a week. He has no passport. And then things change, and then you have to make a new plan. Mostly for our own experience. Through the course of it, Francis has been keeping an online account of things, so pictures, and I think more just for the experience.
The reason for doing the trip was because in Canada and North America, we hear things about this part of the world, but I wanted to see them firsthand, to see what's true, because the media sometimes is, especially if you don't know. And so the part of the trip was to sort of, we realize how much we don't know. Like beautiful cities. Ljubljana in Slovenia was a very pleasant surprise. People-wise, the impressive thing is how friendly people are. Like everywhere we go, 99% of the people are very good. And I think some of the things we like that is different than what we experienced back home is how expressive. In Turkey, when old friends meet, how they touch their heads together, and when people say thank you, they hold their heart and stuff. And so some things are very tender. Where in North America, it's not quite the same. Here, when people argue, it gets very animated, but then it comes down very fast. In Canada, if you yell at somebody, it's bad.
Yeah.
My wife is at home, and and on the back of the bike, there's no room.
There was one girl in Baku who wanted to ride, but no, we never got around to giving her a ride.
How your wives get you on the journey without them?
It's difficult. In my situation, my wife's mother is 96 years old and she lives with us. So it's not possible for us to both travel. The other reason is this type of trip and the type of riding we do is not easy for two people to be on the same bike. Sometimes we are on roads that are mud and dirt, and we would, if it was two people, we would crash. So
it's very physical. It wouldn't appeal to my wife at all to do this.
Baku is
Baku is lovely. Baku is very, very nice. And Tbilisi was very nice.
We didn't go to Yerevan. We stayed in the country in Armenia, so we didn't see the capital of Armenia. But Baku surprised us. We had no idea how modern it was.
But for me, going back to the earlier question, for me, the impressive things, I agree with what Francis said. The people, the friendliness of the people everywhere was remarkable. It was surprising and great. The age of certain things, you know, when you see Ephesus at 3,000 years or 5,000 years, you see structures with such age that you can't help but be touched by the history of that, the timeline of it, which is incredible. Places surprised me. I didn't really know what to expect in Georgia, and Georgia is beautiful. Like every part of it's beautiful, and we've seen a lot of Georgia, probably more of Georgia than any other country. No, you know, it's been good for a couple of reasons. When we take a ferry like this, it saves us riding our motorcycles like quite a long distance, and so it saves on the wear and tear on the bicycle and on the motorbike, and gives us some rest. But it's also been very nice. It's a nice, comfortable ride, and on the journey we've met a lot of nice people. Everyone seems anxious to talk to us and engage us. I just wish I knew the language.
The thing on the ship I like is the food. The food has been very good, and I like the ocean. I have, on a sailboat, I have sailed across the Atlantic, and I have sailed across the Pacific. 28 years ago, my wife and I, when we got married, we brought our one motorcycle, and for 3 months, my wife and I, for our honeymoon, and I've done all of North America on motorcycle, and then a couple of years back, we did Ecuador. We flew to Ecuador and rented motorcycles and traveled for 2 weeks.
And I've done previously on my own as well. I did all of Bolivia and Argentina and a number of routes in the United States, off-road, like no roads, GPS guided.
Nothing that was arranged before. During this trip, my brother, who is now in Samarkand, he and I were traveling together for a while, and he had a crash, an accident in Greece, and so we were in Greece for 8 days near Thessaloniki, and we met a local club there, and we became friends with them, and they have since, they helped me get my part in Baku, and then online there is a big adventure riding community called ADV Rider, and so we're in contact with a lot of people, and we have I have a lot of contact with people that I've never met, but everyone is helping. That's when I had my problem. I had offers from Poland, I had offers from United States, I had offers from Kazakhstan, Russia, to help me get my part. So the internet community has been huge.
I think that was bad for everyone a little bit, because there was the possibility of him being seriously injured, maybe even killed. He came around a corner and he drifted into the opposing lane, and the driver had also come into his lane, and they were face to face. Put his bike down and slid into the side of the car, and thankfully he sustained very little injury. His motorcycle needed significant work, but that was a tense moment, and well, obviously we're all concerned about
that?
We have what's called an enduro bike. It's a bike that does off-road, unpaved surface, mountain, terrain, and also paved surface. KTM is the make of it, and that was the other thing. While we didn't meet with KTM clubs, we on our trip through, we actually went to the factory in Austria, where these motorcycles are fabricated, and we got a tour of the facility. We had a whole bunch of future plans. We'll see what we do afterwards.
See, next year?
Next or in the future?
I'm going sailing from New Zealand to Tahiti in next spring, and then later a motorcycle ride from Canada to Ushuaia, Tierra del Fuego.
So all of North America, all of South America.
And Mongolia. Sometimes it's difficult to, in Europe, when we were in the EU, we had insurance policy that covers all of EU. When we get to Turkey, different insurance, and we had my brother and I, we came in a different way, and we tried to get into Turkey. We went to Athens, and then took a ferry to Chios, then took a ferry from Chios to Chesme, and in Chesme they said no, so we had to go back to Chios, and then we had to go back up to Kavala, and then drive, and then we got in. So that was 3 days of stress of not knowing if we could get into Turkey. And we considered if we couldn't get into Turkey, we would just keep driving, and we would come and catch this ferry and go down to Batumi and go in. And then the other stress was the motorcycle clutch. The clutch took 8 days to fix, because getting the parts took 4 days organized. And then the big stress was in Azerbaijan. They did big tax, import tax. So I had to buy the parts, I had to ship the parts, and then I had to pay another $600 just in tax to Azerbaijan.
We felt a tiny bit targeted by some of the police in certain countries. And I don't know if it was because as a group we looked big. There were 5 of us, all big bikes, lots of gear. So in Turkey we got stopped a lot by the police.
You did?
Yeah, I did. In Armenia we get stopped a lot again.
They want bakshish or?
Yeah, they want. And the worst was Azerbaijan. We got tagged there.
Azerbaijan, he wanted 800 manats.
Unofficial taxation.
In Georgia?
No, Georgia was good. We don't understand. The police drive with their lights on all the time.
Yes,
and
it means that
they're there,
active
on the line and active.
Yeah.
Right.
In Canada, if the lights are on, you're in trouble.
That's right.
So we're driving along, wondering who's in trouble. He's just driving.
You could thin it down. We could thin it down. We brought all of the camping gear, in part because we wanted to be prepared for Kazakhstan, Mongolia, stretches where there might not be accommodation. And now, in actual fact, I think we could have gone without our camping gear.
We have three bags of stuff, 1, 2, and 1 across the back. 1 bag is all camping gear. We've camped 1 night.
The biggest part of the preparation was really just getting all the appropriate visas for the countries we needed them for. It wasn't that many, but the ones we needed were vital. We needed Turkey, we needed Armenia, we needed Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Russia. Those were
the hardest visas. Turkmenistan was the hardest, Russia second hardest, and Uzbekistan third hardest. And then the other 4 e-visas. Turkey e-visa, Armenia e-visa, Azerbaijan e-visa, Tajikistan e-visa, to go through Iran. But Iran turned us down 2 times.
Our visa was denied there.
Because three countries Iran makes trouble, or has trouble with. Canada, United States, and Great Britain.
I think our timing was unfortunate. They were having an election in Iran, and so they just said no. But that created the complication. If we'd come into Iran from Armenia
to Iran.
Iran and then into Turkmenistan riding, because that got blocked, we ended up sitting in Baku waiting for the wind to stop, and it was the weather that stopped us from getting in time.
And that's the story in Baku. Sometimes they get all the way across, and there's been reports of the boat waiting 5 days
just to unload.
just to get to the port.
Armenia, they were terrible. Terrible roads, very poorly maintained.
Sometimes though the roads
Yeah.
are because we pick a route that's not as much traveled. I think a lot of the countries you could pick good roads. We try to go to places that are not typical. The first bad roads would have been Albania. Armenia, no. Azerbaijan, some good, some very good, some very bad.
I think one of the prettiest cities that I was surprised about was Ljubljana. Very pretty, and that I didn't know that it was going to be quite so nice as that.
Yeah, I mean Ljubljana was a very early pleasant surprise.
Pleasant surprise.
Montenegro was very nice.
Right.
Yeah. Qatar, and my brother and I stayed in a monastery we stopped at a monastery and we stayed for the night in a monastery at the top of a mountain.
Dubrovnik is beautiful. There's lots of very nice cities.
Korčula.
Ljubljana for me was just a surprise. That was all. I was surprised at how nice it was. I would go back.
For the 4 months, $12,000 to $15,000.
I think $15,000, and I think that's where it will come in.
I started 9 months ago.
I'm going to say 6 months because he did most of the planning. So when he told me to do things, I did it. We were riding together in New Mexico. He fell from his bike. His helmet, I think, fractured this, and then he had a pneumothorax, lung collapse. So he was in hospital for a week, and then he was
Then
home.
they got flown.
Physiotherapy. I was going to say the biggest preparation for this trip would have been to ride as much as possible. The problem is, of course, in Canada, just as in Ukraine and Georgia, we get snow. Right? So our departure was in May, and so in April I was able to ride. So I rode as much as I could before I left. That was all the preparation I did.
Where I live, though, I can ride year-round. In my part of Canada is very mild, so I ride all year, so that was good.
Yeah, we have winter from, our winter season is from November till March.
We have a satellite communicator for emergencies, and so we activated the emergency, and then 7 hours later I was in the hospital.
Yeah, it was unfortunate position and timing because it was a big desert called the Chihuahuan Desert, and we were right in the middle of it.
The other thing some people say is the real adventure starts when the plan falls apart.